Sometimes I feel so desperate. It's like my brain throbs.
Give me a few minutes, please. This is Danny. He's going to be moving into the house.
I used to fancy you, you know, big time.
Did you?
Birthday bumps, innit?
Whose birthday?
What? Birthday shots.
Yeah.
Right up the arse. Birthday. Get your arse out.
Does your mum know what you do?
I think she just blocks it out.
Hi, you must be Gavin.
Yes, I am. Pleased to meet you.
That was a good, firm handshake.
What's your name, mate? What's your name? Hey, she's a good girl, isn't she?
Bye.
Be kind to her. Kind to her. It's all, isn't it?
Laura. I adore you.
You are both going.
Karen.
Guns and this. Shut up.
Things just come into my head, like horrible thoughts.
I remember how I know you.
No,
Get out. Danny, I'm serious.
let him see me.
Danny.
Is your mummy's friend?
Go in the bedroom, love. Go on.
I like you, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I just wanted to say I just love your film so much. You know, I'm a filmmaker myself, and when I watched your film, I was just blown away. And is this Gino? This is your first feature directing?
Yeah, third feature. Yeah,
It's amazing.
it was something I've wanted to do for ages. I really wanted to, get my teeth stuck into a feature, and it's, I think as a filmmaker yourself, you probably understand that feeling, wouldn't you? And it just hadn't happened for a long time for me. With you get pushed and pulled in different directions, corporate stuff, all sorts. But yeah, I had this idea a while ago, probably early 30s. I'm 44 now. And yeah, I decided to kind of really focus on filmmaking again, probably in 2019. Got the script written, and yeah, so I'm so pleased that I've made it, and made it with Joe as well. It was amazing finding Joe. He's incredible. I think you'd probably agree. Incredible.
Oh gosh. Well, every aspect of the film is great, from the cinematography, the acting, the writing, the directing, editing. Everything is so spot on, and I feel like it's one of those films that needs to be in the theaters. And I hope that it gets that, it's so beautifully done.
Yeah, we will get a small theatrical release in the UK, which is really good. We've managed to land a distributor in the UK called Bulldog Distribution, and they're fantastic. They really pushed us all the way. And in the UK, we feel like we've got a lot of momentum going. And yeah, so I feel like we're going to have a small theatrical run, predominantly art house cinemas. We don't know which ones yet. We know a few, but we're hoping to add more to the list. We're having a few previews as well coming up, which is nice. But it's nice to have a US premiere as well, with Poppy Jasper. And we hope we'll get a US. We're on the verge of getting a US distributor at the moment, so I don't think we'll have a theatrical run in the US, but at least we'll be distributed in the US as well.
We can talk more about that, because I want to talk a little bit about that, because a lot of things are changing here in the United States, especially with theaters needing content. But I want to start from the beginning, and like, what inspired you to make this, film?
Yeah, so it was probably late 20s, early 30s. I was doing filmmaking workshops in supported housing. So I was teaching a lot of the people that lived in supported housing, camera skills, filmmaking skills, stuff like that. And just getting on with the people who live there.
Right.
You know, you see like they've got a lot of issues. They're dealing with multiple problems. You know, their support structure's bad. It's sometimes mental health issues, physical health issues. But there was a positivity, a camaraderie, and you get this sense that they're all having a go, and you know there's a real resilience. And I thought, for me, that felt like a good world to explore in a film. And I'd made a short as well, towards the end of that period of working in the public sector, making films with them. And the short was about a homeless couple who both had addiction issues, one an alcoholic, one a heroin addict. So it kind of married into that idea, if you like, where I felt that you know, it's important to show people not dealing with one thing, but dealing with a lot of things, and having limited choices, and try to show the audience, you know, how real that is, and hopefully they'll empathize with those characters and understand some of their choices, because they are in a difficult position, aren't they? All the characters in the film. Not just Danny, you know, Laura, she's manipulated, coerced, controlled. Obviously, even Danny's friend, Rob, he feels he's just always out for the party, really. It's almost, you know, that's his solace, if you like. And it's just about being a human being, isn't it? And I feel like that's what me and Joe talked about. That's what me and Ben, the producer, talked about. We're all about being as authentic and real as possible. And exploring all the different avenues, like the intrusive thoughts, like self-medicating heroin, you know, the idea that, you know, all of these issues are compounding, and actually, you know, without the family support structure as well, in a way, the tenderness and closeness between Danny and Laura at the time seemed like the only option, particularly for Danny, but even sometimes for Laura as well, even though she was a bit more guarded. So it's just about, it's hopefully getting people to empathize with what people are going through.
That's what I felt so nailed it so well. And I love the London Film Festival. It said this film will break you and piece you back together again. And I felt like that is such a brilliant line. And it is true. We have I mean, even in the United States, we have a huge mental health problem, and we don't really take care of people. When we look at homelessness, people walking on the street, and we just think the worst of them, instead of this film really brings to light what's really going on, you know, deep.
And actually the UK has got a big problem now with homelessness and just generally not looking after people. The UK's got worse over the last 20 years, I'd say. Would you agree, Joe? Like, it just seems to have got worse slowly.
A lot of stuff in regards to health in general in sort of decline amongst the working class and people slipping through the cracks of society in instances like this. Absolutely. So that's why I do feel that the film is as relevant as ever, really. I agree with that, definitely, 100%.
And services get cut all the time, and you know, like when I was working making films with people in supported housing, there was actually a lot of positivity and help for people. And actually, you know, if people were sleeping rough back then, they would bring people off the streets, but then a whole austerity period happened, and there's just cuts to everything. And I don't know if that happens in the US, but I suppose actually it is happening in the US right now, isn't it? It's very much happening.
Yeah, a lot of cuts this year.
we get sort of true.
Yeah, we're all feeling it. Joe, what drew you to this role, and how did you connect with the character?
Well, you know, I remember when I first received the breakdown for Danny from my agent, and I remember it was December 2021 for an in-person audition in January 2022. So I remember thinking and looking at the character and going, oh my gosh, I know they say some roles aren't meant to pass you by. This feels like it might be one of them. But as an actor, you know that lots of things are out of your hands when you're going for stuff. But yeah, as soon as I read him, I had an immediate connection with him through what he was going through and where he was from. And I was very excited as well, because in my sort of day and age as an actor now, you don't get a lot of opportunities to meet a director and producer for a project for the first time in person. A lot is now done through self-tapes. And then if they like your self-tape, they will then see you in person. So I thought, this seems really good. This is an in-person audition with a script that I like, set in Manchester. And yeah, I went for it. And then I can't remember whether it was 4 or 5 auditions, Gino. They put me through the mill. It wasn't easy. They put me through the mill. Chemistry reads and everything.
We just liked you, Joe. We just wanted to keep you just around.
Yeah, they dangled the carrot for a fair few weeks. Yeah, but I was hungry. I was hungry for that carrot.
Yeah, and it was sad. The auditions were really good in the sense that you know, it was a workshoppy vibe, wasn't it, Joe? And
yes.
And I felt like we got to meet a lot of actors for long periods of time, and I mean, you straight away, you were shining, weren't you? Well, you know you were, but like in the sense that I felt like Joe brought a lot to the table. He was a really creative actor, you know, not just on script but off script. Because the way I work, I like to impro into the scene, go on to the dialogue, impro in between the dialogue, and impro out. And
yeah.
Joe's like a duck to water to that, and he's really creative. So it was just great finding someone like that.
Thanks, Gino. Yeah, and what I was going to say as well, and it's similar. The reason why I believe anyway that Gino and Ben sort of really valued in-person auditions from the start was because Treading Water relies so much on real 3-dimensional characters. What Ben and Gino said at the start of everything was, we want everyone to be as real as possible. And you can only get that by meeting people in real life, can't you? Do you know what I mean? Straight from the off, it's what someone's energy is just in the room. And Gino, it was dead interesting as well. I remember in possibly the last chemistry read, or maybe the one before, you actually deliberately with your handheld camera were shooting around what we were doing, weren't you? To see sort of like if people's sort of technique and the way they were on screen was how you would want to work with whilst you were shooting. So that was a really interesting thing as well. But yeah, I knew straight away from meeting Gino and Ben that it was going to be a really unique project, and everyone put the heart and soul into it during the course of what we were shooting. But I did have a funny feeling that it was just going to be something special even before all that, with how, you know, passionate Gino and Ben were. As Gino's just said, you know, it's been in the back of his head for the past decade, really. So to get the part was an honor. Pressure, knowing that it's been Gino's baby for 10 years. But yeah, big honor, man. Big honor. Job of a lifetime, honestly.
That's an interesting way of casting it, you know, is not just in person, but also allowing the actors to improvise so you can see if they really get the character. Is that sort of what your thought on that was?
Yeah, that's how I do it. And you know, some of the impros that were in the auditions went into the script. It was really nice, actually, and obviously during the shoot as well, we would impro different things. It was always going to be, because I think you're not going to get human moments always bang on dialogue. Obviously you get reads which is bang on, you know, it's completely to the script. But then after that, I feel like, because I kind of think performance and giving freedom to performers is really important. It's probably top of the tree for me, along with obviously the story. So yeah, I really like that idea of an actor coming in and actually having a lot of time with us, you know, not just coming in, reading a few things and going. And actually some of the people that come in ended up getting different parts in the film. So because they weren't with us for like 5 minutes, they were with us for more like, I don't know, 40 minutes. Maybe, was it even longer, Joe? How long was some auditions? Were they like hours?
Yeah. Whoa.
I think like 2-hour auditions sometimes. Where
Well, that's the great thing about how you work, really. I mean, you know, you book the space for a day, and it was just giving people the opportunity to see what they had. And
yeah,
there was a lot of people that were bringing a lot of great stuff to the table, and then we just sort of rolled with it, didn't we? But yeah, we were in there.
You get a sense of what other people can do, because they might not be right for the role that they've come for, but then there's so many, you know, different parts in the film, and yeah, so it was enjoyable. Casting's important, and I think, you know, it was enjoyable doing it, and I'd hope to keep working like that if I could, because I think it's a nice way of working.
Can I just say as well, it's what Gino just said then about how he works. It was so brilliant, because if I remember correctly, what would sort of sometimes or usually happen on set would be, obviously Gino's got the script, and in some instances for us to go from the scene before to the scene after, you know, certain beats have to be hit, and we do sort of a few takes with the scripts. So Gino was happy with having what he had for the narrative. And if you put it on a scale between like 1 and 10, 1 being the script and 10 being a completely wild improvisation that sort of is the scene but isn't, you'd sort of go, okay, now push it to a 2, push it to a 3. And then during the scene, you'd sort of like drip feed us things to gain inspiration, wouldn't you? So things would change, or imagine this has happened, or imagine that's happened, or okay, I want you to do that just before there, or just little things in the moment that will gain inspiration. And then at the end, yeah, when you were happy with what you got, you'd sometimes go, okay, I think I've got what I need. Do the scene, but don't say anything that you've just said or do anything that you've just done. So what was great about that as an actor is the only way I can describe it, and I've used this before, was Gino was so good at giving actors the opportunity to fail for trying to get that moment. Do you know what I mean? And in some instances, we may not have got that moment, but a few things I believe that we did, but we only got that moment because we were given the opportunity. And in filmmaking, as we all know, it's difficult. You know, people are up against budget, they're up against time, availability, sunlight, all of these crazy things that are out of our control. So it was really great for an actor to sort of be given that sort of, I don't know, almost, you know, permission to go, okay, if I get this wrong, I get it wrong. Do you know what I mean? And I believe that due to Gino's way of filmmaking, there are a few moments in there that you could never do again, even if you tried a million times. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like moments of inspiration. And hopefully that's what he was sort of looking for in some instances. There's a lot of stuff that I did that couldn't make it into the film. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the thing. You gave us the opportunity to fail, and I failed countless times. But hopefully there are a few moments in there due to the way that you worked that were like, yeah, that's the moment. That's the moment that we got that will never happen again, but we did it. Do you know what I mean?
Great. Brilliant.
Yeah.
How lucky you are to work with a director like that. I think
absolutely
that's so smart, and that's the strength of your conviction for the film and making it the best it can be. It's incredible. It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge for you, Gino, in bringing this film to life?
I mean, there's loads of challenges along the way, isn't there? I mean, obviously, you know, when you set out to make a feature, you've got to get the finances, haven't you? And you've got to figure out how you're going to do that. And initially, I was struggling because I'd had some conversations with a corporate client, and they were going to back it, but it was kind of they would always put the meetings off, and then a friend, the producer Ben. He was his life was actually changing, if you like. He's a first-time producer, Ben, and he used to be an actor back in the day, and he was pretty successful, but then he went into business, and he was really successful within business, and then his life changed where he sold his part of the business, and he had this opportunity where he wanted to invest in things, and we had a meeting, and it was completely different with Ben. You know, it was a budget out. It was 150,000 in the end we spent on the film, but the way Ben works is he's just instant. So we went and had a coffee, and then probably he read the script and stuff, and actually then we had the coffee, and he loved it, and then probably a month later we'd set up a company. We'd started to put the finances in. I put 10,000 in myself, and then yeah, we were auditioning, and it was just a process of, you got to take every day, you know. You kind of, I still had to do my corporate jobs, but you've just got to go, right, I've got to audition, see as many people as possible. We've got to see as many locations as we can. And that's where then Ben, being a first-time producer, was incredible, because he was able to secure locations that, you know, I would say, I really want this, can we get this? And somehow he would do it. He would deliver. You know, it might be like, I've gone to the top of a multi-story car park, you know, and said, I want this one. And somehow he's had the conversation and, you know, charmed them and managed to get on the multi-story car park. And you know, and these little things were amazing, and there was a real momentum. So it was from probably, it was 21 September, me and Ben had that initial meeting. We were casting, like Joe said, just before December into January. I think we were shooting in May. And you know, it was a very small crew. And I think it's just important to have the right vibe, isn't it? You know, the right people. You know, it's the people that you're going to gel with. I think because you're doing it for 8 weeks. That's what we did, 8 or 9 weeks, and I wanted it to be a bit more chilled out. So I don't think I could handle like 6-day weeks. So we did 4-day weeks, you know, and we split it up, you know, where we had a bit of time to prep for the next thing. I think it was about 32, 33 days in total. But you know, we wanted to be light on our feet, tried to make the lighting fairly simple, you know, like it wasn't. You know, you just want that sort of vibe, like the freedom Joe was talking about. It was, and even giving freedom to the DOP as well, not just to be really static, but to actually have the ability to follow. And you just hope that you're getting the best out of each day, but it's a bit of a whirlwind. You know, you're just flying through it, and yeah, it was difficult. I suppose the question was, what was the challenges? The challenges were massive initially, because you're not going to make it without any money or any will behind you and help. But then once it did go into motion, it was actually a lot of fun. It was stressful, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. And Joe, was this your first feature film that you've done as an actor, especially as a lead actor?
Oh yeah. So my sort of screen experience before has sort of all been TV. So as far as sort of film in general goes, yeah, this was my first sort of film, period. Never mind my first lead in a film. So yeah, double whammy, man. What a gig. So yeah, it was great.
What was the biggest challenge for you as an actor doing that? Because sometimes with a feature, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know?
No, absolutely. I mean, I guess sort of what I've always known as an actor, I suppose, is, you know, filming in general can be this sort of whirlwind of things, of people from all different sectors, lighting, makeup, directors, producers, all coming together to make this thing. And the daunting thing is right at the start, no one knows how it's going to go. Do you know what I mean? Could go either way. So I was just very, very, very engrossed in my prep and just knowing the character very, very well. And I sort of, in regards to speaking to Gino, we always spoke at length about Danny, but I always sort of do my own sort of little things just to put me in that headspace of sort of doing so much prep that when I get to the set, I almost leave it at the door. I don't take the prep with me onto set, because I believe that that diminishes your inspiration. I sort of do all my prep to then sort of go, right, that's out of my head now. I've got it somewhere in my subconscious, so I can basically be as spontaneous as I can. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, so I was just very concentrated on because obviously, you know, some days you can be filming pages where I'd have 20 or 30 lines. Some weeks I don't, due to the fact that we all know feature film isn't really all in the dialogue. You know, there were some weeks where we were filming and it was all shots and scenes where I didn't say a word. But I always sort of, through filming that, just really like to have my scripts on me and like to know, obviously, always where I was coming from, where I was going, and I had sort of a character arc. And I think back to your question, probably the greatest thing in my mind was I'm not really in control of much, but what I am in control over is Danny's journey through me and my body. So I was just always very sort of focused on just sort of very focused on what sort of Danny had to do. And then, like you do with the film, you just put sort of your faith in everyone sort of around you. And I was so blessed to work with Gino, man, because straight away from meeting him and Ben, even though I'm not a director, I've never directed anything, I really sort of understood what he was trying to sort of achieve. And he was so great at going, look, I want you to just be as natural as possible. Cameras, all that stuff, lighting, technical things, don't worry about it. Just be that character. So I was very assured that I just sort of, had to be, basically. Yeah. But yeah, it was daunting. But I enjoyed it, man. I had such a great time. Believe it or not, because some of the scenes are quite intense. But yeah, it was all good fun.
Did you shoot the film in sequence or did you jump around when filming?
So we did jump around, but we tried to have a bit of a sequence way of working, if you know what I mean. So when we were at the supporters house, we did the best we could to keep things within, you know, like when we first arrived at the supported house, I think the first scene was you arrived. That's the one we shot, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that was the first location. One in Gino that you supported out in 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
And I suppose like we did the same with the stuff with you and Laura. I mean, yeah, Becky and Joe were incredible together, and you know, just bouncing off each other. And again, we did our best to give that. It's not impossible, I suppose, if you've got a certain budget, but I think for sort of indie filmmaking, sometimes, you know, even you griller in locations in a way, aren't you? You're not all, like, most of them were booked, but sometimes we would just go into locations and hoping and sort of doing it on our wits, if you like. So you can't always go in sequence. I mean, the fairground, I think that was shot 3 months later, wasn't it? That was a pickup.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, like you said, we did, May, June, July, and then fairground. Due to that was all night shoots, and I think for continuity of light, you would have only gotten about 4 or 5 hours a night to shoot in summer. So I think that was left to October. But what I do remember, Gino, is in the locations that we were in, of course, like you said, it's pretty much impossible to shoot a feature film genuinely in sequence unless you're in one location. But I think for the locations that we were in, I think you did your utmost, which was really obviously helpful to all the actors. Apart from if there was unavailability from someone or whatever that was out of our control, I think you pretty much did, unless you absolutely couldn't, locations, you did do it chronologically as much as you could.
Yeah, and you know, we were at some locations we were there for, you know, 8. I think the supported house was the longest one, wasn't it? Was that 8 days we were there?
Yeah, that was right at the start. So we were filming, like you said, 4 days a week, 8. Yeah, we were there for a fortnight. Yeah.
It was a really good. I mean, it was a really good vibe. The actors were all bouncing off each other. It was really nice to see, actually.
That was good. That's the casting, like you said, because, you know, the supporting housing lads did. We had banter. Really, there was sometimes no difference between like what we were doing in between takes. You know, you could have just sort of filmed us just off camera anyway, couldn't you? Really?
Well, with such an intense film, there is a lot of comedic relief, you know,
Yeah.
there is so, and I thought it was brilliant how you added comedy into this without taking away from the strength of the story.
I'm glad you said that because we wanted to bring that in, and you know, I hope that did come across. So it sounds like it definitely come across for you, Mattie, and you know, that was important because I think, you know, that's again being human, isn't it? You know, no matter what your situation is, you're going to have a laugh at times, and I feel like the middle of the film, you know, that's what, because it was quite, you meet him at his lowest ebb, don't you? You meet him when he is really struggling, and then when he's got that connection and that spark with Laura, I think the film does start to, you know, especially with Rob as well in the background, always ripping people, and yeah, the lads in general, and even like just the ridiculousness of say the employment workshop, you know, where the two ladies are trying to, you know, help these addicts, if you like. And really, well,
I think,
the best advice, aren't they?
Right. I think the comedy, I think the comedy made you fall in love with the characters more.
Yeah, and that I'm glad for that, and I'm glad that it come across because it was important to me that did come across. Again, I just think it's that's real, isn't it? And
100%. Like for people that like quite literally have nothing, like humor is sometimes all these people have. Do you know what I mean? If they lose their sense of humor in these situations, then the world really is bleak for these people, you know. And sometimes the humor in situations where you may not expect it can mean a lot more than just comedy. You know, you can have empathy for these people. Sometimes the funniest things can, in a strange way, be the saddest. And we've all laughed in situations where we know we quite shouldn't have, you know, or I don't know. I think, the sense of, that's the great thing, you know, about the film. Daryl, who plays my best mate in the film, Rob, who I believe was really integral to it. You know, he's one of those guys that, you know, could cheer you up no matter what the situation, really. And the fact that the film obviously, you know, it wouldn't be described as a comedy, I think is great for the audience, really, you know, not expecting to sort of laugh there, yet somehow, hopefully they do. You know, it's always that thing of going, God, yeah, it was really funny, that. I really like that. I don't know if I should have, but yeah, it was funny. That's sometimes better, isn't it, really?
Yeah. When
give me a life.
We've seen it play, you know, in a few cinemas now, and in the you know, BFI London, and the premiere, that was a packed house, and it was it was quite large, wasn't it? It was over 200 people there, and that really worked. You really got the sense of both the drama and the you know, the bits where it was very tense, but also a sense of the comedic relief, and it was really nice. It's a nice feeling in you know, when you're in the audience in that environment, and I hope that comes across.
It did.
Back to, sorry to go back on it, but back to how Gino worked as well with the improvisation in some aspects of it. You know, what's great is some of these things that my character was laughing at and other people, because some of the stuff was improvised. You know, I hadn't heard some, you know, it's not as if we'd rehearsed this. So, you know, there is controlled but genuine laughter there.
Yeah.
You know, which makes everything more realistic, really.
Yeah.
Like, do you know Ben, the producer, plays a small part called, you know, Tony?
Okay.
And so Rob had a free reign to just hurl insults. And Daryl absolutely loved it. The amount of insults I've got, you know, takes that. Obviously, I could only pick one, but it was really like, what was the shoes with jeans?
Oh man, yeah.
You look like a copper.
Yeah, he made the most out of being able to take the mick out of the producers.
Because I didn't write those lines. They were Daryl. And he really brought that. He brought a great vibe to the table. because the character didn't, in my head, the character of Rob didn't look like Daryl at all. You know, when I first, but when he walked into the audition, you couldn't give that part to anyone else.
Right.
You literally couldn't. I felt like, you know, when I'd written it, I think I'd said sort of gaunt, tall, and it was completely different. But then, yeah, Daryl would just he brought something straight away, because the character still was supposed to have comic relief, and I think that was the most important thing. You know, that this guy just likes to party, doesn't he? And he just likes to wind people up, and I think, like I said earlier, it's what he's got in his life, and he embraces that.
Yeah, that's incredible. That it's a testament again to you guys for bringing people in, sort of in person as well. You know, to actually, because that may never have been, you know, seen if he would have, you know, you wouldn't have got him to try all of that stuff and then go, wow, that guy's actually really, 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 really funny in a different way. But yeah, there you go. Found something that I didn't know I was looking for. Amazing. It's amazing that happened. Amazing.
Is there something that you wanted audiences to walk away with this film? Do you know?
The resilience side of it, the resilience, the idea that life goes on. You know, I didn't want that ending to be so dramatic that it was so final for everyone. You know, even the idea that Laura's life's going on. The idea that actually, you know, her two children, because the other child was born, you know, they're kind of put into that cycle as well, and you know, they're still going to have to deal with Warren, you know, that father who will inevitably get back in their life. The idea that you know, there's lots of things that go to forming a person. There's lots of layers. And hopefully you get a sense of all the layers of the character, and you don't judge so much, hopefully. You know, I mean, you can often say that some of the decisions, you know, maybe they weren't right, but you can certainly see why the characters at those certain times may have made those decisions, because hopefully you see all of the different pushes and pulls on their lives at that time. So yeah, resilience and you know, the fact that it is hard when the world is sort of, I don't know, it's almost like closed in, you know, in that sense, because it's hard to get out of certain situations. Because ultimately, you know, Laura was in a really tough spot before she met Danny, and you know, and Danny was in a terrible spot, and it was going to be hard for them to actually pull each other out of it. And obviously Danny may have did make Laura's life worse in a way with his decision making, but then you can understand at the start why he made those decisions. And for Laura, she really had to get away from Warren, didn't she, in some ways? But it's difficult because, you know, I think you got a sense at times of Warren's charm as well. It wasn't all so you could see that potentially he would have charmed her in the early days. And I get a sense that Warren's had a terrible life as well. So it's kind of trying to see again all the different things that go up to making someone, and how that impacts on their mental health and who they are, but also that they're still resilient, and there's still hope, there's still promise, there's still positivity. And actually there'll be times and moments where all of those people will have amazing times as well, because I think there was times when Danny and Laura did have amazing times. So yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but I hope that answered your question.
No, but I think what you're doing is you're definitely showing people a different side of that world, and showing more depth to maybe the issues that people are going through. We did a documentary on Vietnam veterans and local Vietnam veterans, and one of them said, you know, sometimes those guys on the street, those homeless people, those are guys that didn't come back okay. You
Right.
know, they're not,
Yeah.
they didn't, and they fought in the war, but they didn't come back okay. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just stayed with me. And like sometimes people go through trauma and it impacts them and it affects them harder than it does anyone else. So you don't know, not everyone is
They can't
resilient.
recover from it. So it's
Yeah, not
post-traumatic
everyone's
stress
resilient.
disorder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to know how, it would be a lot of work in terms of talking to people and building people up, and you just don't know. Like you say, can you ever recover from certain situations? It sounds like they really, really would have seen things that no one would imagine or want to ever see. So you got to really feel for those people, and I feel like that's another thing. Help people, help these people on the streets. Don't judge them, help them.
Yeah.
Because there's better ways than just saying, oh, they're not doing anything.
Or
Actually,
they're weak. Yeah.
yeah,
Or they're
because
weak, yeah. It's not
you
about a
haven't,
weak,
you've
it's about
not been in
trauma.
their
Yeah.
shoes. You've not been in their shoes, and it would happen to anyone if you were in their shoes.
Yeah.
The same thing could happen to you or I, and everyone, in life anyway, goes through ups and downs. It's in all walks of life, and I think you've got to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah. Joe, what's been a memorable reaction from viewers that have seen your film? Do you have anything?
Ooh, a memorable reaction. I think I think from a lot of people that have seen it, that are sort of from Manchester, they're just really, really sort of appreciative in a sense of just how sort of realistic a job that Gino's done with the film. It really does, represent sort of real people. It's got that northern spirit. It's shot in really realistic locations. Some of the locations that we use that people from the city will really know. Strangeways Prison, behind Piccadilly train station. We didn't pretend in the film. These real situations where this stuff does actually happen was really used. I think the word that I'm looking for is authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think as the lead sort of actor, it was such an experience to sort of be immersed in such a realistic sort of world that really I didn't really have to react or pretend at any point. I was engrossed within it because I was there. And I think people are just really sort of, really sort of taken aback by the realness of it. It's got northern spirit. It's got northern humor. It represents people in a way that I don't think a lot of films have done recently. And in all honesty, there isn't many films, feature films, like you've both said. I mean, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm just an actor, but feature films are hard to make. Short films are hard to make. Getting a feature film made, financed, and the rest of it, and put together, and then out there to festivals is from my experience with knowing Ben and Gino now, so much harder than people realize. And I think just to have a feature film set in Manchester about Mancunians is a massive, massive achievement, and people who know their stuff. I've been really happy with that, because what Ben and Gino done hasn't been easy. So just making it is an achievement. But to then sort of have the whole sort of the BFI London Film Festival and BIFFA sort of giving us the nod. It's been a dream come true, really. So it's just a very overwhelming, wonderful feeling being part of something that is very close to a lot of people, and close to my heart. Being from Manchester. Knowing people like Danny and seeing a bit of myself in him as well, really. I really honestly doubt that I will ever be part of a project that is really sort of that close to me ever again, really. I couldn't really make one up if I tried, to be honest. I think a lot of people feel the same way. just the reaction in general from people from around the area has been one of thank you, really. You know, you've done a great job doing a great film, but you've done an important piece of work for people that need a voice. Because sometimes, you know, art, you know, can be the best way of displaying a problem. A song can, you know, a play can. And in this case, I feel like this piece of art isn't only a great spectacle for a viewer, but yeah, an important message to people, regardless of whether they're into that sort of, you know, filmmaking or not. Just any viewer, really, I believe, from the city would be like, wow, yeah, I know people like that. I know people like them. And my dad said this. My dad isn't involved in the industry at all, but he said the film really represents a group of people locked in a period of time, you know, that month, and you can never get that sort of month back. That's their life for that period of time. And at the end of the film, you know, he didn't necessarily go, oh, I wondered what happened to Danny and Laura, but he said, you know, I wondered for all of them. I wondered what would happen to Danny. I wondered what would happen with Warren, what would happen with Rob, what would happen with all of them, you know, on their own separate routes. So yeah. I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah. I think people are just very appreciative of Gino highlighting
Just
you know what I mean?
Well, now you're going to play at the Manchester Film Festival, right?
Yeah. It's
That's
coming
got to
up.
be
It's,
so
the 23rd. Yeah,
I know, crazy.
It's, you can see it selling out. It's quite good actually, because every time it's bad. I keep looking, and we've only got 40 to go, 38 to go.
There's less now. I think there's about 15 now.
What's that?
I think there's about 15 or 20 now. I think.
You're joking.
I think there's only the front two rows now.
We've only got 50.
Oh wow!
I think it's about that.
But yeah, no, it's really nice. It's just, you know, I want to make more films in Manchester. You know, it's where I live. I'm from Liverpool originally, but I come here when I was 18. I come to uni here, and I've never left. And,
he's a Manc now.
I'm an honorary Manc. Normally, Mancunians hate Scousers. I'm a Scouser.
I don't hate you, Gino.
I've somehow got in here. But yeah, no, I would love to have a career making more films in Manchester. I don't know how possible it is. I suppose it's a slow burn, isn't it? As you know yourself, Mattie, it's just, you know, on to the next one, and hopefully at some point we get to make another one. Yeah, but it would be nice to keep trying to stick to our guns for as long as we can.
Well, you're certainly great at what you do. That's for sure. It's such a beautiful film, and I felt so lucky to have it in the festival. I was so pleased, loved watching it, and just feel very proud that it's here. So thank you
for
so
picking
much.
it. Really, thank you for picking it.
Thank you
for an honour to have our US premiere with you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mattie. It means so much. That. Thank you for having us at the festival. It's amazing. It's great to think, you know, that the film's, you know, going over the Atlantic to America. It's it's amazing. So thank you. Thank you.
We hope we can get it out to America. I mean, it sounds like it will translate okay. It sounds like, well, from Europe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I hope we can get some sort of small cult following or something, just to give it a bit of a springboard. It's very difficult to know on the distribution front because it's a first for us, so we just don't know what to expect.
Well, there's, you know, here in America, the theaters are going. Sorry, my pig is acting up. I have a potbelly pig.
Wow.
I don't know
Wow.
he's
Really?
very angry with me right now.
No way.
Expected you to say that. I love that. Sorry, my pig's acting up.
Pickles. Sorry.
I'm intrigued to see the pig now.
I know, yeah, I'm intrigued.
Well, should I? I mean, this will be on the recording, but
Why not?
Here, let me just show you. See if you can see him. There he is.
Oh yeah. It's incredible.
Wow.
I love that. That's amazing.
Amazing.
Love it. I'm gonna tell my
Why
daughter.
not?
She's gonna pester me for a pig now. I can't wait to tell her tomorrow.
Well, he's got a whole story of his own too. Like, yeah, my dog passed away, and I just didn't want to get another dog. I got a pig.
Oh,
Biscuit
wow.
Myers. Now he was trying to he likes to sit with my other dog on his bed, and Biscuit doesn't like that. But anyway.
And is he easy to look after? Is it this?
Oh yeah. Well, the problem is he can't fit through the doggy door anymore, so we have to open the door for him to come in from the backyard. You saw his belly; it's like this far from the
ground. Bless him.
How big will he get? Will he get massive?
Oh, well, yeah, he already is. He's about 150 pounds. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well done.
That's cool.
I love it.
So back to your film. You know, one of the things with theaters locally, especially locally, that they're having is they don't have a lot of content from the studios anymore. So they're looking for independent films, and there's a lot of different organizations. There's Cineroad, which we're working with, who they actually took a film throughout the United States to different theaters, and they're finding success there. So there is another avenue. We're going to be talking about that at one of our panel discussions. Is going to be just on that.
That's really interesting.
It's such a great opportunity at this point, for such a great opportunity for indie filmmakers and film festivals that have great films, that instead of just going to streaming, is to think about a theatrical path for your film here in the US. There's art houses, there's theaters, and they need content. So
how would that work? Because obviously, like I said earlier, we're in talks with a distributor at the moment. How would that work? Would they have to that? Well, I suppose that's a conversation we'd have to have with them. But would they be able to have that sort of conversation with with the cinemas and
one of my friends, one of my friends owns the Pruneyard Cinemas in Campbell, which is up the road from us, and they're interested in talking with me about bringing some independent films to their theater. You know, part of the process that they're saying is that they would like someone from the film to attend some of these screenings, just because it helps bring the audience, but also one of the things that we're doing, there's also organizations that are connecting to nonprofits. So since you have a film about mental illness, you would work with nonprofits in the area of wherever those theaters are, where they would come, and you cross promote each other, and you're bringing a conversation to the film also. So it's not just about showing the film, it's about having a longer conversation about mental illness and things like that. So this is all just sort of happening right now. And
it sounds really good. It does sound really good. And it's surprising that you say that there's no content for the independent cinemas anymore. It makes a lot of sense. They're
going from like 300 films from the studios to maybe 80. So it's different. You know, they're still getting content throughout the year, but it's not not as much. That's why they're doing comedy shows in the theater. That's why, you know, they're having bands come and play. My friend does a drag show called Drag Queen Bingo during at the theater. So they're trying to figure out how to keep people coming back to the theater. Yeah,
I think back in the day, couldn't filmmakers almost promote their films themselves? I'm sure I heard stories of John Cassavetes just promoting his films to cinemas himself, and it's just such a different world with streaming now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called four-walling. it was called forewalling, where you would go and you would take your film to a theater and you would sell the tickets yourself, and because you rent the theater. But now we're talking about the theaters promoting the film is playing, just like any other film, and the filmmaker taking a percentage. There's a film called Hundreds of Beavers that made almost $1 million through a theatrical release throughout the United States.
Wow.
They had a great marketing campaign. They also attended a lot of the screenings and, created a lot of buzz around it. It's work, but there's an opportunity, and what happens is then you make your money back for your film.
Yeah, it works.
Harder to do with streaming. So that's just something that's popping up a lot, and we're getting involved as much as we can, because for our filmmakers, and
I'll talk to Ben about it. I'll tell Ben about it, and it does sound very interesting, and I suppose it helps with later on down the line as well, in terms of it just helps with promoting the film, doesn't it, to wider audiences. And I suppose a US release, if it's had a theatrical release, hopefully with word of mouth and social media, there can be a little bit of buzz for certain films. I know it's not going to happen for every film, but it does sound a great idea. And you just highlighted one that it did work for, and I imagine that has had a positive impact on streaming as well.
Yeah, it does, because you're bringing an audience that you're bringing the metric. You have metrics of it being successful theatrically, so then it will be more successful streaming. That definitely makes sense to me. I like that idea. Me too. Because you make a film, you want people to see it in the theater, especially yours. That's where people should see your film. It's beautiful to look at. We didn't talk a lot about your DP, but and the style, but you even took a difficult, location, but it's still there's the cinematography, the composition and the lighting and everything, just so stylized and beautiful. That
you will love to hear that. You'll love to hear that, Sam. Yeah, no, Sam was brilliant in the sense that he was so easy to work with, so on board with the handheld style. It's not normally how he works either. He normally likes more locked off stuff, but he embraced, the idea of, because I quite like movies like The Wrestler, Black Swan, 21 Grams, in the sense that, the way the camera's just free, and you feel like I felt like Sam could be almost instinctive with his work, and he really he did a great job. Like you said, he did a fantastic job, because sometimes it wasn't as set as maybe a DP would have loved it to be, but because he embraced it. And actually Sam sometimes was the one trying to get more shots, wasn't he, at the end? When we thought like, oh, we're done now, and somebody one more.
And the cameras he was holding weren't light, and
so heavy.
At times none of us knew how long a take was going to be, did we?
I
think his arm strength must have doubled in the course of the 8 weeks, because he was holding that camera for a long time sometimes. He thought it'd be
the Area Mirror.
What's that one?
No, I was to Mattie. Do you know the camera, the Area Mirror?
Yes.
It's so heavy, isn't it?
Beautiful. It's an amazing camera. Yeah, of course. Wow. Yeah. Incredible. Not small.
And he had and actually even the Mini, the Arri Mini, Lewis had, because we had two ops, well, a DOP and an op, and Lewis, because it's not balanced that easily, so that was really heavy. Fair play to them both. We just kept rolling those takes, didn't we?
We did. We sure did.
So what's next for you both, Joe? What's next for you?
So I've just been very fortunate in, off the sort of BFI and BIFFA, I've been signed to quite a big agency in the UK. and I'm in the mix at the moment auditioning. I was saying to Gino earlier in the week, I went for something that I think is well, I always think this when you go for parts, you go, oh, this is right for me, that is. I think this one might be right for me. I haven't heard back yet, such is the life of an actor, so I'm waiting on imminent news. I might know tomorrow, might know next week, I'm not too sure. So I've just got my fingers crossed. I did do a play towards the back end of last year in Manchester, and I've just finished a radio project that's now out on the BBC. So yeah, next screen project is pending, but I have everything crossed. But I'm an actor. You never know. You've got these. I've been in this business now for 10 years, and sometimes the best thing to do is do your auditions, then don't think about them, or book a holiday when the job's supposed to be, and then you'll probably get it. So I've recently booked a holiday. Hoping I'll get it.
Well, you are meant to be on the screen and television, so I'm looking forward to seeing more from you. You're just phenomenal. Really, really amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Mattie. Cheers.
Yeah. Gino, what about you? What are you working on?
Combo. So I've got loads of deliverables to get through. People keep sending me, send me this, send me that. So half the time I don't know what they're talking about. Like I had to work out what an 8-channel audio mix was the other day, but I figured, well, I tried to work it out myself, and in the end I found out you could get it done for 40 quid, and I was fuming because I'd spent 2 weeks trying to work something out. But you know, I've been working on a synopsis for a new feature. It's the synopsis is there now. It's like a 5-page synopsis. I've got it set in Manchester again. It's kind of a bit of an anti-hero vigilante. On the back of, I'm not going to give too much away, but it's got a backstory of the farming community in and around Greater Manchester, and just some impacts that have happened to the characters. So I feel like I've got my teeth stuck into the synopsis, but it's hard. In all honesty, I feel like it's hard to write the script now whilst treading water's still going on. Even though you could say, oh, well, you can, it's hard for me to compartmentalize the two things. So I feel like that whilst treading water is still doing stuff, I'm going to just take it easy with the script. The producer, Ben, won't like to hear that. but that's kind of how I feel. And I think, you know, hopefully I'll have a script by the end of the year or there or thereabouts. And then I don't know how we're going to raise the money. It all starts again, doesn't it?
Well, remember us in the US.
Oh, definitely. Maybe we'll pitch it in the US.
Hey, I think that would be a good idea. Yeah.
You never know. You never know. But obviously, yeah, it's going to be shot in Manchester. Similar vibe, similar casting process. Just hopefully a little bit of a bigger budget.
Yeah. Good. Think big. That's great. Well, thank you both for joining me today. I'm so honored to meet you. I do love your film so much, and I just hope more and more people get to watch it. And I'm excited for the crowd on Saturday night. We've got
Saturday night billing as well. It's
I
amazing.
know. Thank you. Saturday night, baby.
And it's playing in Gilroy, the garlic capital of the world. So.
Oh, really?
Gilroy is considered the garlic capital of the world.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Did you think garlic capital then?
Garlic, yeah.
The garlic capital of the world.
Yes.
I thought you said gala at first, but it's garlic. I love
garlic.
it.
Yeah, the bulb.
So was a lot of the garlic we're eating from Gilroy.
Yes. Yeah. Should be Christopher Ranch. Yeah. That's
an extra claim for fame. What's that?
The Christopher Ranch is where the garlic comes. They're the farmers, and they're the reason that we're the garlic capital of the world. Yeah. So you want Christopher Ranch, and in the swag bags, all the filmmakers will be getting garlic from Christopher Ranch.
Oh.
I'm missing out on my garlic.
You're missing out on garlic. Well, maybe we'll send you some.
Oh, can I have some? Please do.
I'll
take
ask
that.
Ben to give me your addresses. We'll send you some garlic from Gil.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. That's tremendous. Oh, no, thank you for picking us. Thank you for selecting us. It's incredible.
Brilliant film.
Do you know what the audience is like yet, or is it
It's usually we get the crowd coming in the night of. That's just how this town works.
Yeah.
Just drives me nuts. But yeah, we always get a good crowd on a Saturday night, and I'm really excited. So once I finish with this recording, I'm gonna put it out there to the rest of the world, and also share it on my social media that I really think this is a film to go see. So thank you for doing this, because it really helps, our audience and our community. And there's so many filmmakers coming. I think we have about 600 filmmakers coming to this festival this year so far. So they're going to want to see this film. This is a great film. So you'll get a lot of filmmakers and people from the industry seeing your film.
Much appreciated. Yeah. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thanks again, Mattie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. I really appreciate your time